The small town of Oak Ridge was a quiet place where everyone knew each other. On the edge of town lived a stray dog named Max. He was a big German shepherd with soft brown eyes. Max did not have a home or an owner, but the whole town took care of him. People left food and water for him. Children played with him in the park. Old ladies gave him treats when he walked by their houses. Max was not just any dog. He was the town dog, and everyone loved him. Max spent his days walking around the town. He greeted shop owners in the morning. He sat by the school when kids came out to play. He walked with the mail carrier on her daily route. At night, he slept in a little spot behind the grocery store where the manager had made a bed for him from old blankets. Max may not have had one home, but the whole town was his home, and all the people were his family. Life was good for Max until a group of bikers came to town. They were loud and scary. They drove their motorcycles fast and made a lot of noise. Most people in Oak Ridge stayed away from them. The bikers often stopped at the bar on Main Street. They drank and laughed loudly late into the night. The bar owner was too afraid to ask them to leave. One of the bikers was worse than the others. His name was Vince. He wore a thick leather jacket even in hot weather. He had many tattoos on his arms and a long beard. His eyes were cold and mean. People crossed the street when they saw him coming. Even other bikers seemed careful around him. Max did not know to be afraid of Vince. The dog had only known kindness from people. So when he saw Vince walk out of the bar one afternoon, Max went up to him wagging his tail. He thought Vince might give him a pat or a treat like other people did. But Vince was not like other people. When he saw Max coming toward him, his face changed. A cruel smile appeared. He looked around to see if anyone was watching. Then he waited until Max was close enough. Sarah Brown was walking back to her flower shop when she saw what happened next. She was too far away to stop it, but close enough to see everything. Vince suddenly kicked Max hard in the side. The dog yelped in pain and fell over, but Vince did not stop there. He picked up a stick and hit Max again and again. He laughed while doing it. Max tried to run away, but Vince chased him. He cornered the poor dog against a wall. Max was shaking with fear. He had never been hurt by a human before. He did not understand what was happening or why. His eyes showed confusion and pain. Sarah wanted to help, but she was scared of Vince. She had heard stories about what he did to people who got in his way. Instead, she took out her phone and recorded what was happening. Her hands were shaking so much she almost dropped her phone. Tears ran down her face as she watched. Finally, Vince got bored and walked away, still laughing. Max stayed pressed against the wall for a long time. When he finally moved, he was different. His tail was between his legs. His head was down. The happy, friendly dog was gone. In his place was a scared, broken animal. Word spread quickly around Oak Ridge. People were angry but afraid to do anything. The police said they would talk to Vince, but nobody believed they would really do it. Max stopped walking around town. He hid in dark places. He ran away when people tried to come near him. The light in his eyes was gone. It seemed like nothing could help him now. But nobody knew that a famous movie star was about to arrive in town. Nobody knew that things were about to change in a big way. And nobody could guess that the man who would save Max was none other than Jason Statham, the tough guy with a soft heart for animals in need. Sarah Brown could not sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Max being hurt by Vince. The video she took was on her phone. She watched it again, feeling sick to her stomach. She had to do something. But what could one flower shop owner do against a dangerous biker? The next morning, she showed the video to her friend Tom, who ran the local coffee shop. Tom was angry too. He suggested they post the video online. Maybe someone would see it who could help. Sarah was not sure. What if Vince found out and came after her? But the thought of Max hiding somewhere, hurt and scared, made her brave. She posted the video on her social media page. She wrote about how Max was the town dog and how much everyone loved him. She told the story of what Vince had done. She asked people to share the video. Then she went to work, not expecting much to happen. By lunchtime, her phone was buzzing nonstop. The video had been shared hundreds of times. People from all over were commenting. They were angry about what happened to Max. Many asked how they could help. Some said the police should arrest Vince. Others wanted to know if Max was okay. Sarah did not know if Max was okay. Nobody had seen him since the incident. She closed her shop early and went looking for him. She checked all his usual spots: behind the grocery store, near the school, by the park. He was not there. She asked everyone she met if they had seen Max. Nobody had. As the sun was setting, Sarah was about to give up. Then she remembered one place she had not checked. There was an old shed behind the gas station at the edge of town. Max sometimes went there during storms. Maybe he was hiding there now. The shed was dark and smelled of oil and dust. Sarah called Max's name softly. At first, there was no response. Then she heard a small whine from the corner. She turned on her phone's flashlight. There was Max, pressed against the wall. His eyes were wide with fear. When the light hit him, he tried to make himself even smaller. Sarah sat on the ground a few feet away from him. She talked to him in a gentle voice. She told him he was a good dog. She said she was sorry for what happened. She promised that she would not let anyone hurt him again. Max watched her, but did not come closer. Sarah left some food and water for him, and promised to come back tomorrow. When she got home, her social media was exploding with messages. The video had now been shared thousands of times. News websites were picking up the story. People were calling for justice for Max. The hashtag #JusticeForMax was trending. One message caught Sarah's attention. It was from someone claiming to be an assistant to Jason Statham. The famous action movie star was coming to Oak Ridge next week to film scenes for his new movie. He had seen the video and was very upset. He wanted to meet Sarah and hear the whole story. Sarah could not believe it. Jason Statham, the famous actor who starred in all those tough guy movies, why would he care about a dog in a small town? It had to be a joke. She almost deleted the message, but something made her reply. She said she would meet with him if he really came to town. The next few days were tense in Oak Ridge. Vince and his biker friends were still around. They seemed angry about the video. They rode their motorcycles up and down Main Street, revving the engines loudly. They glared at people on the sidewalks. Nobody dared to say anything to them. Sarah visited Max every day. She brought him food and water. She sat with him and talked to him. Sometimes he would eat while she was there, but he always stayed in his corner. His body was healing from the physical wounds, but his spirit was still broken. On Friday morning, a black SUV with dark windows pulled up in front of Sarah's flower shop. A tall man in a suit got out and opened the back door. And there he was, Jason Statham himself, wearing sunglasses and a black jacket. He walked into the shop like it was the most normal thing in the world, and the first words out of his mouth were, "Take me to Max." Sarah stared at Jason Statham in shock. The famous actor was standing in her small flower shop. He was shorter than she expected, but had the same intense look she had seen in his movies. His eyes were kind but determined. "I saw the video," Jason said. "What happened to that dog was wrong. I want to help." Sarah found her voice. "Max is hiding in an old shed. He is very scared. He does not trust people anymore." Jason nodded. "I understand. Will you take me to him?" They walked to the shed behind the gas station. People stopped and stared as they passed. It was not every day that a Hollywood star walked down the streets of Oak Ridge. Some took pictures with their phones. Others whispered to each other. But Jason did not seem to notice. He was focused on his mission. At the shed, Sarah warned Jason to move slowly. "Max is very afraid now. He might run away if you get too close." Jason took off his sunglasses and put them in his pocket. He got down on his knees and crawled into the shed. Sarah watched nervously. Even she could not get close to Max. What made Jason think he could? Inside the shed, Jason saw Max pressed against the far wall. The dog was trembling. His eyes were wide with fear. Jason sat down on the dirty floor, not caring about his expensive clothes. He did not try to move closer to Max. Instead, he just sat there quietly. "Hey boy," he said softly. "I heard what happened to you. That was not right. Not all humans are like that guy. Some of us are good." Max watched him, but did not move. Jason reached into his pocket and took out a small piece of chicken. He placed it on the floor halfway between them. Then he took out his phone and began to read his movie script out loud in a calm voice. Sarah watched in amazement. What was he doing? But after about an hour, she saw something incredible. Max had moved a few inches toward the chicken. He was still watching Jason carefully, but the fear in his eyes was less. Jason smiled but kept reading his script as if nothing had happened. Another hour passed. Max had eaten the chicken and moved a little closer to Jason. The actor took out another piece of chicken from his pocket and placed it closer to him. By the end of the day, Max was still not letting Jason touch him, but he was lying down only a few feet away. It was more progress than Sarah had seen in days. "I will come back tomorrow," Jason told her as they walked back to town. "He needs time and patience." The next day, Jason returned with a professional dog trainer named Mike. Mike had worked with many hurt and scared dogs. He showed Jason how to sit and how to offer food. He explained that Max needed to learn to trust again. "The dog is not just physically hurt," Mike said. "His mind is hurt too. We need to heal both." For the next 3 days, Jason came to the shed for hours. Each day, Max moved a little closer. On the 4th day, the dog finally let Jason touch his head very gently. Sarah cried when she saw it. It was the first time Max had let anyone touch him since the attack. Word spread around town about what Jason was doing. People came to watch from a distance. They were amazed to see the famous tough guy sitting patiently for hours with a scared dog. Some brought food for Max. Others offered to help. But not everyone was happy. Vince and his biker friends heard about Jason Statham being in town. They laughed and made jokes. Vince was especially loud. "What is he going to do? Put me in one of his stupid movies," Vince said to his friends at the bar. "I am not scared of some fake movie tough guy." Little did Vince know that Jason Statham was not just an actor. He had grown up in a rough part of London. He knew how to handle himself, and he had a plan to deal with Vince. A plan that would start tomorrow when he would walk into this very bar with Max by his side. The next morning, Jason woke up early in his hotel room. Today was the day he would face Vince. He was not planning to fight. He was smarter than that. He had a better plan. He went to the shed where Max was staying. The dog was looking better. His tail moved a little when he saw Jason. It was not a full wag yet, but it was progress. Jason sat with Max for an hour. He fed him by hand and talked to him softly. Today he needed Max to trust him enough to leave the shed. "We need to show everyone that you are not broken," Jason told the dog. "We need to show that bully that he did not win." Slowly, Jason put a soft leash on Max. The dog was nervous but did not pull away. Jason led him out of the shed into the sunlight. Max blinked and looked around. He was still scared but stayed close to Jason. They walked through town together. People stopped and watched. Some clapped. Others took pictures. Max stayed close to Jason, still afraid but brave. Jason talked to him the whole time, telling him he was doing a good job. Their walk ended at the police station. Inside, Jason asked to speak to the chief. The police chief was surprised to see the famous actor in his small station. He was even more surprised when Jason showed him Sarah's video and asked why nothing had been done about it. "Well, Mr. Statham, we talked to Mr. Vince," the chief said nervously. "He said the dog attacked him first. We have no proof either way." Jason looked at the chief calmly. "You have a video showing him hurting the dog. You have witnesses. And now you have me. I am making a formal complaint." The chief shifted in his seat. "Mr. Vince has friends in this town. Important friends." "So do I," Jason replied. "And mine are more important than his. I am going to use my platform to make sure everyone knows what happened here. Either you do your job, or I make sure the whole world knows you did not." The chief looked uncomfortable, but nodded. "I will send an officer to talk to Mr. Vince again." Jason was not satisfied with that answer. "No, you will come with me now to arrest him. We are going to the bar where he and his friends hang out." The chief tried to argue, but Jason was firm. Finally, the chief agreed to go to the bar with Jason. As they were leaving the station, Jason called Sarah and asked her to meet them there with her phone and the video. Word spread quickly around town. Jason Statham was going to confront Vince at the bar. People began to gather outside the bar, curious about what would happen. Some were worried there would be a fight. Inside the bar, Vince and his biker friends were drinking and laughing. They did not know what was about to happen. The bartender saw the crowd forming outside and became nervous. He had seen the video of Vince hurting Max and did not like having Vince in his bar, but he was too afraid to kick him out. Jason arrived with Max, Sarah, and the police chief. The crowd parted to let them through. Jason tied Max's leash to a bike rack outside the bar where he would be safe. He bent down and looked the dog in the eyes. "Wait here, boy. I am going to make this right." Jason straightened up and walked into the bar with Sarah and the chief following him. The bar went quiet as they entered. Vince looked up from his drink, his eyes narrowing when he saw Jason. Well, Vince said loudly. "If it is not the movie star who thinks he is a real tough guy." Jason did not respond to the taunt. He had dealt with men like Vince before. Men who thought being cruel made them strong. He knew better. Instead, Jason turned to the chief. "This is the man who hurt Max. The man in the video." The chief looked nervous with all the bikers watching him. But with Jason Statham standing next to him, he found his courage. He stepped forward and spoke in his official voice. "Vincent Miller, you are under arrest for animal cruelty." Vince stood up so fast that his chair fell over. His face turned red with anger. His biker friends also stood up, making the situation tense. The bar became very quiet. Everyone was watching to see what would happen next. "You think you can arrest me because of a dog?" Vince shouted. "Do you know who my friends are?" The police chief looked scared. He took a small step back. But Jason did not move. He stood calmly, looking at Vince with steady eyes. Sarah stepped forward with her phone. "I have the video right here. Everyone has seen what you did to Max. There is no way to deny it." One of Vince's friends, a tall biker with a long beard, moved toward Sarah. "Give me that phone, lady." Jason stepped between them. His voice was quiet but firm. "Touch her, and you will regret it." The biker stopped. Something in Jason's eyes made him think twice. This was not just an actor playing tough. This was a man who could back up his words. Outside, the crowd had grown bigger. People were pressing against the windows to see what was happening. Max was still tied to the bike rack, watching the door of the bar with worried eyes. Inside, the police chief found his courage again. He took out his handcuffs. "Mr. Miller, please turn around. You are under arrest." Vince laughed. "You and what army? Look around, chief. My friends outnumber you." "He has us," said a new voice from the door. Everyone turned to look. Tom from the coffee shop was standing there. Behind him were at least 20 people from town. They had been watching Max being hurt for too long. They were tired of being afraid. "And he has us," said another voice. 2 police officers from the next town over walked in. They had seen the video online and came to help. They stood beside the chief. Vince looked less sure of himself now. His friends were looking at each other, trying to decide what to do. Jason spoke up. "This can go 2 ways, Vince. You can come quietly and face the charges, or you can resist and make things worse for yourself. What do you care about some mud anyway? Vince spat out. You are just doing this for publicity. Jason's eyes hardened. That dog has more heart and courage than you will ever have. He trusted people, and you broke that trust. But he is learning to trust again. He is stronger than you think. Stronger than you. You are full of big words, movie star, Vince sneered. But you are just an actor. Jason smiled slightly. Before I was an actor, I was a diver on the British national team. Before that, I grew up on the streets. I know how to handle myself. But I do not need to fight you. Justice will do that for me. He turned to the police chief. Arrest him now, or I call the governor. I have his number on my phone. He is a big fan. The chief nodded and stepped forward with the handcuffs again. This time, 2 other officers moved with him. Vince looked at his friends, but they were backing away. They did not want to get arrested too. This is not over, Vince growled as the chief put the handcuffs on him. Yes, it is, Jason replied. The police led Vince out of the bar. The crowd outside cheered when they saw him in handcuffs. Max began to bark, as if he knew what was happening. It was the first time he had barked since the attack. As Vince was put into the police car, he looked at Max with hate in his eyes. Max stopped barking and backed away, still afraid of the man who had hurt him. Jason went to Max and knelt beside him. He spoke softly to the dog, telling him everything was okay now. The dog pressed against Jason's leg, seeking comfort. Sarah came out of the bar and joined them. What happens now? She asked. Jason scratched Max behind his ears. Now we help Max heal completely. And we make sure Vince faces justice. The crowd was still watching. Many had their phones out, recording everything. The story was getting bigger by the minute. A woman stepped forward from the crowd. She wore a business suit and had a professional camera. Mr. Statham, I am from the local news. Can I ask you a few questions about what happened here today? Jason looked at her, then at Max, then back at her. He nodded. Yes. It is time to break the silence. It is time for everyone to know what happened here. The reporter turned to her cameraman. We are live in 3, 2, 1. The local news interview with Jason Statham was just the beginning. By that evening, national news channels were showing the story. The video of Vince hurting Max, followed by the video of Jason helping the dog and confronting Vince, was everywhere. People all over the country were talking about it. Jason used his fame to make sure the story stayed in the news. He gave more interviews. He talked about animal cruelty laws and how they needed to be stronger. He talked about Max and how the dog was slowly healing. This is not just about one dog, Jason said in an interview. This is about speaking up when we see cruelty. It is about not being afraid to do what is right. Social media exploded with the hashtag #JusticeForMax. People shared their own stories of animal rescue. Many sent money to help Max and other hurt animals. Animal shelters across the country reported more people coming to adopt dogs. Vince was in jail waiting for his court date. His biker friends left town quickly after his arrest. They did not want to be connected to someone who was now famous for being cruel to an animal. Even tough bikers did not want that kind of bad reputation. Back in Oak Ridge, Max was making good progress. He was staying at Sarah's house now, sleeping on a soft bed and eating good food. Jason visited every day, spending hours with the dog. Max was becoming more like his old self. His tail wagged more often. He was less jumpy around loud noises. He even let some of the townspeople pet him. One day, Jason brought a special visitor to meet Max. It was a woman named Dr. Lisa Chen, an expert in helping traumatized animals. She watched Max and talked to Jason and Sarah about his progress. He is doing remarkably well, Dr. Chen said, but he still has a long way to go. Trauma like this does not heal overnight. She showed them special exercises to do with Max, games that would help him trust again, ways to make him feel safe and loved. She promised to check on him regularly and help with his recovery. "What will happen to him when you leave town?" Dr. Chen asked Jason. "Your movie filming will end soon, right?" Jason was quiet for a moment. He looked at Max, who was lying at his feet, looking up at him with trusting eyes. "I have been thinking about that," Jason said. "I cannot just leave him. Not after all this." Sarah and Dr. Chen exchanged glances. They had both been worried about what would happen to Max when Jason left. "What are you saying?" Sarah asked. "I am saying that I want to adopt him," Jason replied. "Take him home with me. Give him the life he deserves." Sarah felt mixed emotions. She had grown attached to Max, but she knew Jason could give him a better life. And the bond between the actor and the dog was special. Anyone could see that. "I think that would be wonderful," she said, her voice a little shaky. "But will he be okay in Hollywood, with your busy life?" Jason smiled. "I do not live in Hollywood. I have a farm outside of London. Plenty of space for a dog to run and play. And I have other rescue animals there. He will have friends." Dr. Chen nodded her approval. "That sounds perfect for him. But we should wait until after the trial. It would be good for the judge to see Max and understand what happened to him." The trial was set for the following week. The courthouse was small, not used to such a high-profile case. Media from all over had come to cover the story. Animal rights groups stood outside with signs demanding justice for Max. Inside, the courtroom was packed. Jason sat in the front row with Max by his side. The dog was wearing a special vest that marked him as a dog in therapy. He was calm but stayed close to Jason. When Vince was brought in wearing handcuffs, Max tensed up. Jason stroked his back gently, calming him down. Vince glared at them both, his face full of hate. The trial began with the prosecutor showing Sarah's video. People in the courtroom gasped, even though most had already seen it online. Seeing it in the formal setting of a courtroom made it seem even more shocking. Witnesses were called. Sarah told her story. Other townspeople talked about how Max had been before the attack and how he changed after. Dr. Chen gave expert testimony about animal trauma. Finally, it was Jason's turn to speak. He walked to the witness stand with Max following him. The dog sat at his feet as Jason was sworn in. "Mr. Statham," the prosecutor said, "can you tell the court how you became involved in this case?" Jason looked at the prosecutor, then at the packed courtroom. He spoke in a clear, strong voice that everyone could hear. "I was in Oak Ridge to film scenes for my new movie. I stopped at a local diner for breakfast when I overheard people talking about what happened to Max. The waitress showed me the video on her phone. I could not believe someone would do that to an innocent animal." The prosecutor nodded. "And what did you do then?" "I asked where I could find the dog," Jason continued. "I wanted to see if I could help him. When I found him, he was hiding in an old shed. He was afraid of everything and everyone. He would not let anyone come near him." "Can you describe his physical condition?" Jason's face grew serious. He had cuts and bruises. He was not eating well. But the worst damage was not physical. His spirit was broken. The light was gone from his eyes. He did not trust humans anymore. "And how did you help him?" "I spent time with him. Hours every day. Just sitting with him, talking to him, showing him that not all humans are cruel. I brought in a professional dog trainer and an animal behavior expert. Slowly, day by day, Max began to trust again." The prosecutor showed pictures of Max before the attack, happy and friendly, then pictures of Max after, cowering and afraid. Finally, recent pictures of Max recovering, staying close to Jason, but looking better. "Mr. Statham, in your opinion, has Max fully recovered from this trauma?" the prosecutor asked. Jason shook his head. "No, he has made amazing progress, but he still has a long way to go. He is still afraid of loud noises. He still gets nervous around strangers, especially men who look like Mr. Miller. He may always carry the scars of what happened to him." The prosecutor turned to the judge. "Your Honor, the state rests its case." Vince's lawyer stood up for cross-examination. He was a thin man with glasses who looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Statham, you were not there when the alleged incident took place, correct?" "No, I was not," Jason admitted. "So you did not see what happened between my client and the dog firsthand?" "No, but I saw the video, like everyone else." The lawyer tried a different approach. "Is it possible that the dog attacked my client first, and he was defending himself?" Jason looked at the lawyer steadily. "No, I have watched that video many times." Max approached with a wagging tail. He was friendly. "There was no aggression until your client attacked him. But you are not a dog expert, are you?" "I have owned dogs all my life. I currently have 3 rescue dogs at my home, and I brought in actual experts who confirmed my observations." The lawyer looked frustrated. He tried one more question. "Is it not true that you are using this case for publicity for your new movie?" The courtroom went quiet. Jason did not answer right away. He reached down to stroke Max's head before speaking. "My new movie is an action film about a spy. It has nothing to do with dogs or animal cruelty. I did not need this kind of publicity. In fact, being here has taken time away from filming, costing the production money." He looked directly at Vince. "I got involved because what I saw in that video was wrong. It was cruel. It was the act of a bully who wanted to feel powerful by hurting something smaller and weaker. In my view, how we treat the most vulnerable shows our true character." The lawyer had no more questions. As Jason returned to his seat, people in the courtroom nodded in agreement with his words. Even the judge seemed moved. The defense called only one witness, Vince himself. He claimed that Max had growled at him and that he was afraid of dogs. He said he only kicked the dog in self-defense. But under cross-examination, the prosecutor showed posts from Vince's social media where he had bragged about teaching that mud a lesson. The posts had been deleted, but someone had saved screenshots. When all the testimony was done, the judge called a short recess to consider the verdict. It was a bench trial, not a jury trial, so the decision was up to the judge alone. People filed out of the courtroom to stretch their legs and get coffee. Jason took Max outside for a short walk. Reporters tried to ask questions, but security kept them at a distance. After 30 minutes, everyone returned to the courtroom. The judge, an older woman with gray hair and a stern face, took her seat. The room fell silent, waiting for her decision. In the case of the state versus Vincent Miller on the charge of animal cruelty, the judge began, "I have reviewed all the evidence and testimony presented today." She looked at Vince with disapproval. "The video evidence is clear. This was not self-defense. This was a deliberate act of cruelty against a defenseless animal." Max seemed to sense the importance of the moment. He sat up straight beside Jason, looking at the judge. "I find the defendant guilty as charged," the judge announced. The courtroom erupted in applause when the judge announced her verdict. The judge banged her gavel for order. When the room was quiet again, she continued, "Animal cruelty is a serious offense. It shows a lack of empathy and a willingness to harm the defenseless. In this court, we take such actions very seriously." She looked at Vince with stern eyes. "Vincent Miller, I sentence you to 1 year in county jail. You will also pay a fine of $5,000. This money will go to the local animal shelter. In addition, you are banned from owning or being around animals for 10 years. Vince's face turned red with anger. "For a dog, this is insane." The judge banged her gavel again. "One more outburst like that, and I will add contempt of court to your sentence. Do you understand?" Vince glared, but nodded. The police officers led him away in handcuffs. As he passed Jason and Max, he spat on the floor. Max pressed against Jason's leg, still afraid of the man who had hurt him. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded Jason, asking for comments. Cameras flashed. Max stayed close to Jason, nervous about the crowd but trusting his new friend to keep him safe. "Justice was served today," Jason told the reporters. "Not just for Max, but for all animals who suffer abuse. This case shows that we as a society will not tolerate cruelty." A reporter asked, What happens to Max now? Jason looked down at the dog with a warm smile. Max is coming home with me. I have adopted him. He will live on my farm in England with my other rescue animals. He will never be hurt again. The news of Jason adopting Max made headlines around the world. People loved the story of the tough action star with a soft heart for animals. Many called Jason a hero for standing up for Max and seeing the case through to the end. Back at Sarah's house, Jason helped pack Max's things. The dog now had toys, a comfortable bed, special food, and even a coat for cold weather. All gifts from people who had heard his story and wanted to help. I cannot thank you enough for what you did, Sarah said to Jason. Not just for Max, but for our town. You showed us that we do not have to be afraid to stand up for what is right. Jason shook his head. I just did what anyone should do. It was you who started it all by taking that video and sharing it. You are the real hero here. The next day, it was time for Jason to leave town. The movie filming was done, and he needed to get back to his other work. A small crowd gathered to say goodbye to both him and Max. Tom from the coffee shop gave Jason a travel mug filled with his best coffee. For the road, he said with a smile. The police chief shook Jason's hand. Thank you for helping us do our job better. We will not let something like this happen again. Dr. Chen gave Jason a folder full of instructions for Max's continued care. Call me anytime if you have questions. I am also sending the contact information for a colleague in London who can help if needed. Last to say goodbye was Sarah. She knelt down and hugged Max gently. Be a good boy, she whispered to the dog. I will miss you. When she stood up, there were tears in her eyes. Jason gave her a hug. You can visit any time, he told her. My home is always open to Max's friends. Jason's driver put Max's things in the trunk of the car. Jason helped Max into the back seat and got in beside him. As the car pulled away, they could see people waving goodbye. Max looked out the window, watching the town where he had lived his whole life disappear in the distance. At the airport, a private plane was waiting. Jason had arranged for Max to fly with him in the cabin, not wanting the dog to be alone and scared in a cargo hold. Special permission had been granted due to the high-profile nature of the case. As they boarded the plane, a flight attendant welcomed them. We have a special area set up for Max, she said, showing them a space with a comfortable dog bed and water bowl. Jason thanked her and helped Max get settled. The dog was nervous about the new experience, but trusted Jason enough to stay calm. Once they were in the air, Max eventually fell asleep with his head on Jason's lap. Looking down at the sleeping dog, Jason felt a sense of peace. The journey had been unexpected but meaningful. What had started as a simple breakfast at a small-town diner had led to a fight for justice, a media storm, and now a new family member. Max twitched in his sleep, perhaps dreaming of running in open fields. Jason stroked his head gently. Almost home, buddy, he said softly. Almost home. 1 year later, Max was a different dog. Living on Jason's farm in the English countryside had healed him in ways that seemed impossible before. The scared, broken dog from the shed was gone. In his place was a happy, healthy German shepherd who ran through open fields and played with Jason's other animals. The farm was the perfect place for Max. It had 60 acres of land with green hills, small woods, and a lake. There were 3 other rescue dogs, 2 horses, and several chickens. Max had made friends with all of them. He especially liked Buddy, an old golden retriever who had been rescued from a puppy mill. Jason had built a special dog playground on the farm. It had tunnels, ramps, and jumping platforms. Max loved to run through the course, showing off his speed and strength. Jason often filmed him playing and shared the videos online. Millions of people followed Max's journey on social media. The story of Max and Jason had changed things beyond their own lives. The case had brought attention to animal cruelty laws. Many states and countries had passed stronger laws to protect animals. People called them Max's Laws. The video of Vince hurting Max was now used in schools and police training to teach about animal cruelty. It showed how animal abuse often led to other types of violence. But the videos of Max's recovery were also shown, giving hope that healing was possible with patience and love. Sarah visited the farm twice. She was amazed at the change in Max. During her last visit, she had brought news from Oak Ridge. The town had used Vince's fine money and donations to build a new animal shelter. They had named it Max's Place in honor of their former town dog. Jason had kept his promise to be Max's forever home. Even when he traveled for work, he made sure Max was well cared for. Sometimes, when the role was right and the set was safe, Max even came with him. The dog had a small part in one of Jason's movies, playing a police dog. The director said he was a natural actor. Today was a special day. It was the 1-year anniversary of Max coming to the farm. Jason had planned a small party. Sarah had flown in from America. Dr. Chin was there too. And a film crew from the Animal Planet channel was making a documentary about Max's story. Max seemed to know it was a special day. He stayed close to Jason, looking up at him with clear, bright eyes full of trust and love. The fear that had once been there was gone. In its place was confidence and joy. If you had told me a year ago that Max would be like this now, I would not have believed it, Sarah said as they watched Max play with Buddy on the lawn. Dr. Chen nodded. The brain and heart can heal from trauma if given enough time, love, and safety. Max is proof of that. The film crew was interviewing people for the documentary. They asked Jason to talk about the day he first met Max in the shed. Jason remembered it clearly. The small, scared dog pressed against the wall, not letting anyone come near him. It broke my heart to see an animal so afraid, Jason told the camera. But it also made me angry. Angry that someone could be so cruel. Angry that people had seen it happen and did nothing. When asked what message he wanted people to take from Max's story, Jason thought for a moment before answering.